You're listening to SaskScapes, a podcast featuring the stories of arts, culture, and heritage in Saskatchewan. I've always had a fondness for Francophone culture in Canada. I grew up in an area rich with the culture of the Acadians. I've lived and worked in Quebec, and so I've been very much looking forward to taking SaskScapes to Gravelbourg, Saskatchewan. I'm Kevin Power, and my guest today is Louis Stranger. Louis embodies the very culture of Gravelbourg, and I can't think of a better ambassador. On a quiet Victoria Day weekend, Louis opened the doors to the museum where he is curator. 2 floors of fascinating artifacts and memorabilia which chronicle the history of Gravelbourg from its founding onward. Louis is an infectious personality. A retired lawyer, historian, and local actor, he is a man of many hats. Enjoy the podcast. So now I am in Gravelbourg, Saskatchewan. Gravelbourg, Saskatchewan, and I am sitting with Monsieur Louis Stranger.
C'est ça.
In the museum, and it is a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for coming on Victoria Day holiday.
Well, and it's a great day.
It is a good
Victoria
day.
is always a nice day.
So tell me about yourself. Are you from Gravelbourg?
Okay, originally I'm from a little place called Pontex, Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Another small Francophone community.
Yes. How far from here?
It's about 50 miles west, approximately.
Okay. All right. And did you come from a large Francophone family?
I actually came from a family of 5. My dad's family, though,
Yes.
was 13.
Right. Then typical, yes?
Typical.
Right. And so when did you come here?
I went to Collège Mathieu.
Yes.
And I
Beautiful
also went
campus.
to Jardin d'Enfance, which was the residential school.
Right.
So I went there a couple years before I studied at Collège.
Right.
Collège, started Collège 1959, and I was there till, I think, 1966. I graduated with a BA. Went at the Collège Mathieu.
What did you do your BA in?
Just general arts.
Okay, right.
So I went from there to law school at U of S.
Oh, that's right. I remember you became a lawyer.
Yeah.
And you practiced corporate law?
No, it was sort of a generalistic practice.
Right.
And I always kept a branch office in my hometown, which was Pontex.
Right. But you also had an office inside.
I had an office right here in Gravelbourg.
Oh, in Gravelbourg as well.
Yeah.
And when did you retire from law?
About 5.5 years ago.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
you have a creative side to you, which we're going to learn about in a little bit. But did you have a creative side to yourself that you could utilize while you were practicing law, or was that something that happened after?
No, I always, like practicing in a small town, all the people.
Right.
And you get involved in the community.
Yeah.
Like a visit at the lawyer's office is, it's more of a socializing than it is, straight business like they do in the city.
Sure. Right. We need more entertainment lawyers.
Yeah, I never got into that
No,
field.
very few people do.
Yeah.
Because their clients can't pay.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you're representing the poor.
And I couldn't handle the contingency end of it,
Right. But you don't miss law now?
Not really.
No.
I mean, I miss the people. That's
Sure.
what I miss, because I miss going to my hometown regularly every week.
Right.
So I have no occasion to go there now.
Right. How many family do you still have alive?
Immediate family, all my siblings are still alive.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, my grandparents are gone with the exception of my mother-in-law that's still living in Regina.
Right. Does the Francophone community in Saskatchewan have the same kind of traditions that are we find often in Quebec as far as family happenings around Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you do the
Well, not as much like Le Réveillon, which
Yes.
was the big party after midnight mass. You know, our families, like the kids are away. So if they come back, then we celebrate after midnight mass,
Right.
which is usually midnight mass. And I'm always in the choir.
Uh-huh. Are you still in the choir?
Yeah, I'm still in that
How
choir.
many people are in the choir?
Oh, 30?
Mostly women, I bet.
No, actually, we have a lot of tenors and
good.
bass, and well, there's some sopranos and a mix of older people and younger people. And
So tell me, can you get a decent tourtière here in Gravelbourg?
oh yeah, you can at the cultural center.
Yes.
For a long time after Christmas, there's always tourtières.
Yes.
So if there's groups that come in for a meal, they get a tourtière.
Right. And do they serve it at the...
They serve it.
next door?
I don't think so. I don't think they serve tourtière, but you know, I haven't had a chance to sample their tourtière.
Right.
It was more at le Centre Culturel Maillard,
Uh-huh. Right.
which is named after that famous painter of the cathedral. Eh?
Right. Okay. We'll have to see the cathedral.
Yes.
I mean, you can't miss it when you pull in.
Yes.
It is very dominant.
Yeah.
And so what's your position here with the museum? Is this your
Well, I'm the
now?
curator
You are.
of the museum. I've been involved with the museum for a long time.
Right.
I was involved even while I was practicing law.
Right.
I would sort of oversee the students in the summertime because we have 3 students that give guided tours out of the museum, like the
Right.
cathedral and the old chapel at the convent. And
Is a student part of that Saskatchewan Student Works program?
yeah, it's Canada,
Canada,
Young Canada.
Right. We met some at the in Willowbunch.
We always get a couple students usually from that, and we also Service Canada gives us funds as well.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah,
Great
so we
experience.
always have 3 students that work over the summer.
Right.
You know, a good part of June, like for the universitarians, and
Right.
and then July and August.
And so, is this a volunteer-run museum? Is it kept alive?
Well, I'm a volunteer.
Yeah.
I mean, I get a small honorarium.
But there's a board. That's
Yeah, there's a board.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, there's, you know, the board members work on different projects. Like some of our board right now are restoring a tourist car. It's a 1924 Ford Hack.
How did they come across that?
Well, we actually bought it in Rapid City, Dakota,
Yeah.
and went and got it. And we've been working on it for 2.5, 3 years now.
Oh, right.
So we've put a fair amount of money in there. And our idea is to have a tourist car.
Yeah.
It's sort of a passenger vehicle. So
right.
we could give guided tours to the town and its historical sites.
Right.
Because we have many historical sites in town.
Yeah, it's
So
beautiful
yeah,
architecture,
so we
beautiful.
can. That's one of the projects that we're working on.
Right.
Another one is we've got we're saving a wood crib elevator.
Oh.
So you know those are fast disappearing.
No kidding. Where did you
So-
find that?
Well, it was there,
Oh, was it
and
really?
Sask was going to demolish it,
Right.
and we raised the stink. We went as far as the Globe and Mail,
Wow.
and they eventually turned around and gave us the elevator.
So
Which is the remnants of the original 1915 Western
right.
elevator company.
Right. So where will it live?
It's just across the tracks here
Oh,
north,
right.
and we are slowly restoring it.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, we're going to have the centennial, and we're hoping to have built a bay. We need to build a bay onto the elevator, which was where they delivered the grain.
Right.
And then we also need to build an agent's office. So we're going to be putting in the cement foundations this year.
Oh, right. Centennial next year. That's
It's
exciting.
2015, so the elevator was built in 1915.
Right. Wow.
So what we've done so far is we've painted the whole structure with the original colors, and we put the original lettering on the elevator.
Right.
So
And so we're sitting in the first room that you walk into when you come in the museum. Couldn't help but notice I passed a Sask Culture banner there. in
Sure,
the foyer.
yeah.
Thanks to Sask Culture
Yeah.
for for their generous.
Yeah, well, they're always pretty good to us.
Yeah,
They support the local museums. Like
Yeah.
we get a fair amount of grant money here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're forever thankful to Saskatchewan Lotteries for.
Yeah,
doing
they've
that.
really turned up
Yeah.
with some good funding now.
Who knew what buying a lottery ticket really meant?
Sure, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
important. So, what is this room that we're sitting
Well,
in?
the room here on ground level is all about the history, the founding families, like the Gravels,
Yes.
who came here.
Right.
There was not only Father Gravel, who established the parish in 1906,
Right.
but he came here with his brothers and one sister. And there were a couple lawyers, couple doctors, there was a pharmacist. They pretty well had everything to start the town up.
Right.
And Father Gravel was a colonizing priest, so he helped to bring about 10,000 settlers in the area.
Right. What order would he have belonged to?
He was just a lay priest,
Okay.
and but he helped to bring a lot of religious orders.
Right.
This is not your ordinary town. There were probably in the 50s something like 200 religious personnel that were affiliated with an order of one kind or other.
Wow.
So I guess one of the connections that Father Gravel had was that he was from the same general area as Sir Wilfrid Laurier,
Right.
who happened to be the Premier of Canada.
Right. Right.
So that helped.
Right. No kidding.
And, for instance, they weren't going to get a railway here. The railway was running south of us through La Flèche, Donovan, and so on.
Uh-huh.
And when Father Gravel realized that, he went down east and through his connections,
Yeah.
managed to bring back a Canadian Northern Railway,
Right.
which was the ancestor of the CN rail.
Right. Right.
So today it's been transferred over to CP rail.
Yeah.
We still have a rail.
Right.
It's not active, but at this point we're negotiating with CP.
And so, what year would that rail have been?
That dates
laid
back
down?
to 1913.
Right. Before we get into the museum, I want to ask you about the Francophone culture here. When I was in Willabunch and also in Rock Glen, there's some concern about the Francophone community shrinking, and that the culture sort of disappearing with new generations is not as much of an appreciation.
Well,
Do you find that here as well?
here it's different.
It's very saturated here. It seems very present.
Well, I think what makes the difference is the schools.
Aha, right,
Like you've got a lot of educational options.
right.
You've got an immersion school here,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got the daycare segment to that immersion school. You've
Right.
got Collège Mathieu,
Right,
which is the Francescois school,
right,
with the daycare element to that.
right. So it's next impossible to go to school without being immersed in French. On some
Yeah,
level.
well, there's still an English stream at the Gravelbourg School, which is located in the convent, and
Right.
but predominantly parents choose immersion
Yeah,
or Francescois school.
right,
So yeah, that's where it's at. So with that, the students learn French,
yeah,
and even though their parents don't speak it,
yeah,
they still know it.
yeah,
And so French is used.
yeah,
Like, for instance, when I hire my students at Le Musée Gravelbourg,
mm-hmm.
I always make it a requirement that they speak French.
Right,
Because people, when they come here, don't want to hear English.
right, sure,
They want to hear something that makes this community different.
right,
So we try to position ourselves in a way
mm-hmm.
that you can attract visitors.
Yeah.
They're not going to come to a run-of-the-mill community.
No, well,
They want to see something different.
This is definitely different. This is a
Yeah.
different landscape here
Yeah.
than anywhere else in Saskatchewan.
Yeah. So I think those of us that grew up here know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's carried on through the students, maybe in a different sort of a way.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
not-
think they
it's not
still
disappearing.
realize it.
It's not disappearing.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So then back to the Gravel family, and
Yeah, the Gravel family
And this
was
room.
instrumental in getting
And-
this community going.
and so we have. First of all, these are
That's First
some
Nations.
First Nations fossils.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of this.
Yeah.
What I'm really struck by is the fact that families have kept these things
Right.
and donated them. They're it's so wonderful that these things were kept in families.
Sure.
That we have a chance to see.
Yeah,
them
well, I
now.
think the First Nations have to be acknowledged.
Absolutely.
They were here and they left a culture on the prairies, which was remarkable. When you
Yeah.
think that a people could survive almost uniquely from bison,
Yes.
you have to be very inventive.
An incredible story, that.
Yeah.
And we're looking at pieces that are dating back to some back.
Oh, some of them
9,000.
date back, like I've got some stuff that's dated back 20,000 years.
Yeah. Wow.
So you're looking back into the Ice Age.
Right.
And the woolly mammoth and so on.
Yeah. Are you attracting visitors from international visitors who are very impressed with this part of the world and want to see what you have on display there?
Yeah, well, for instance, this week we've got the Archeo Caravan that's coming from Saskatchewan Archaeology.
Oh, right.
So they're going to have a full day here.
Right.
For school groups and also the public at large.
Where can you recall some of the people who have come from the furthest away who signed your book?
Oh, well, it hasn't happened. Oh, you mean for the museum?
Yeah,
oh, well, just this week we had 2 Australians visit.
Right, right.
So we get people from all over.
Right.
Denmark, China,
right.
Japan, Korea.
Right.
You know, we've got people from all over here. France.
I was going to say.
Les Français.
Yeah, yeah.
And as well, the Québécois comes here. We bring in groups from Quebec City.
Right.
Which come here to meet the local francophones. We have a meal where they can exchange with their French-Canadian cousins on the prairie. And then they visit a farm so they can familiarize themselves with our context.
Right.
And then they visit the cathedral.
Right.
And usually they go back to Regina or whatever hotel they're at.
Right, right. And what about from Church Point in Nova Scotia, the Acadiens?
Les Acadiens, yeah. We get some Acadiens.
Very different culture.
And some Franco-Ontarians.
Yes.
And we get, I've had Acadiens work here.
Right.
Over the summer.
Very different usage of the French language, huh?
Well, yes, a different accent, but they come from a much similar route because they've had to survive.
Exactly.
Within a context that's predominantly Anglophone.
Yeah, yeah.
So, we find a lot more in common with the Acadians than we do with the Québécois.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Those are my people. That's where I'm from. So,
yeah.
I have a dreadful recipe for something called a râpé pie. All I recall is that it's gray and basically starch.
Okay.
Not
something for the gourmet.
No, it sits in your stomach for the day. Yeah. So can we take a little bit of a look around?
Sure. Okay, we can do a walkabout.
Yeah, I'll try to be as descriptive as possible.
Sure. Yeah. So the first part here, we see the Gravel family.
Yes.
With the brothers' pictures on the wall, and
handsome lot.
Yeah, and we can see a bust of Father Gravel here, which is in bronze. There's a statue at the head of Main Street here.
Yes, I saw that.
Which is solid bronze, and it was made in Italy.
Right. Oh, in Italy.
So it gives you an idea of how prestigious the family was, you know.
Who made this piece, this bust?
I don't know. It came from one of the local nuns at the convent.
Oh, right.
So it's probably a family that commissioned this bust.
Right.
Yeah. So we have pictures of the old town looking down towards the cathedral, and as well looking down north to the CN station. Now
is this the building we were in now?
No.
Oh no, I see. All right, there's the perspective. Look, there's the cathedral, ever present. Hey, it's Kevin. I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Just a quick reminder that the SaskScapes podcast is available for free on your favorite podcast app, or you can stream it from your browser. Check out the show notes for the link. On the SaskScapes homepage, you'll notice something new under the logo called SaskScapes Plus. You can't miss it. There's a big button saying support with a heart icon next to it. I'd love it if you could click on that button and help keep this podcast series going. When SaskScapes launched in May 2014, it was the first podcast in the province celebrating arts, culture, and heritage. In fact, you'd have been pretty hard-pressed to find any Saskatchewan podcasts. So I'd like to think that we paved the way. It's been because of your support that this podcast is now in its 9th year. Okay, that's it. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
Yeah, it's there since 1917,
Yeah.
and it is the hub of the community.
Yeah.
And you can see the convent on the outer edge, western,
Right.
on the west edge of the town.
What's
So the convent got built in 1916,
Uh-huh.
and that was the driving force behind the building of the cathedral.
And what's the convent used for now?
The convent now is used as an elementary school,
Oh, okay.
but the school division is planning on building a new school for Gravelbourg because the pupil teacher space ratio
Uh-huh.
is too big at the convent. So we've got a Friends of the Convent committee that's looking at reuse of the
Right.
convent.
I see.
So there's a beautiful little sisters chapel that's located on the north side where you don't see it here in this picture
Mm-hmm.
because there were additions built onto the convent in 1926.
Right. But it's a very large building. It looks.
Oh,
to
it's
be about-
90,000 square feet.
Looks to be about the size of the one in Willabunch.
It's much bigger.
Is it even
It's
bigger?
twice as big,
Ah,
if not 3 times.
wow.
It's 4 stories, that building, with a basement. So it's huge.
Wow. Great that it still stands.
So here we have a full-size photo of Father Gravel. And we have a photo of the Gravelbourg bar in 1925. And there was a Gravel sitting on the bench as a district court judge, and the prosecutor was a Gravel.
Oh, right.
So you didn't want to be accused of the wrong
right,
crime.
Yeah, right. And how many Gravels are alive and living in Gravelbourg
Well,
now?
presently, there's only one adopted son
Oh.
that still lives here in a
Oh.
Gravel house.
But there's extended family probably living
But
home.
in the centennial,
Yeah.
a lot of the Gravels came back, and they
Right.
came back from France. Some came from Quebec, some
Wow.
from Argentina, all over the world.
That's exciting.
And a remarkable thing is that the family has always kept Gravelbourg in their hearts,
Right.
because when very often when there's a Gravel funeral, they come back here to be buried.
Is that right?
Yeah, so they've kept.
So if we went to the cemetery, we'd see a lot of,
We'd find
Stones
some
with
Gravel,
Gravel, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that are buried there.
yeah.
So here, this is an exhibit on the famous painter who was a parish priest, Father Charles Maillard.
Uh-huh.
And he came from France. He was a parish priest here for 29 years. He spent 10 years decorating the cathedral with his paintings. He even painted the glassware on the cathedral,
Wow.
which has been changed since.
Oh,
but
right.
now it's all stained glass that came from Brittany and France.
Right.
So here we've got a unique painting by Father Gravel. It's of his mother. And he signed that one, which is unusual because at the cathedral, he did not sign any of the paintings that he did there because he considered himself a priest first and then a painter. So I've got some freehand sketches that he did. And of course, he left works in other places in Canada. For instance, in Quebec, in
Oh, beautiful.
Valleyfield, he left some beautiful work. He did a Way of the Cross in the cathedral.
Does he have
there.
any pieces recognized in the National Gallery?
No, he doesn't.
He should.
I think he's, slowly we're putting together the full extent of the work that he did in
Right.
different places.
Right.
It's difficult because there's a church where he did a Way of the Cross in La Chute in
Mhm.
Quebec, which is no longer.
Right.
So we've been trying to track that down. He did work in places like Wolseley that people don't
Oh,
know.
yeah?
He was the parish priest there. Some in Saint-Lazare, Manitoba, because he was parish priest there. He also left works in Capel, which is not far away from
It's
from
beautiful
Wolseley
work.
because So here we have a celebration of the 25th anniversary of Father Maillard's priesthood. And you can see the surplice that he wore.
Yeah.
And here, the first bishop of Gravelbourg in 1930. And he's our second claim to fame because he, in fact, became le cardinal de Quebec,
Oh,
Quebec City,
right. Oh, wow.
in 1932.
Wow, big deal.
So in the Catholic Church, that's
Yeah,
about as high as you
yeah.
can go without being the Pope.
Right. That's right.
So that's the Bishop's Palace, which was built the same time as the church. And you can see the convent in the background. There's a picture here of the clergy. And this is the actual building of the cathedral. So you can see how it came up. It was all done by horse and wagon.
Right.
So they dredged the hole out and they brought in the sand and the gravel and whatever,
Again,
the stone that they needed.
Hardy stock.
And because there was a rail by that time, they were able to bring the brick from Claybank, Saskatchewan.
All right.
So you can see the building of the cathedral, how they built it, like in Roman times with block and tackle.
Huge.
So you wonder how these people were able to do such beautiful work, you know.
No kidding. And probably
today with all their GPSs.
Yeah. And plus that would take more than one season to build. So they'd be
they were actually able to build that in about a year and a half.
But still, they would be building through at least a typical Saskatchewan winter.
Oh, absolutely.
Not
in fact,
a time to be building.
There was a tragedy here where in the month of November, there was a couple of men that were crossing and the plank broke and they were getting a wheelbarrow across.
Yeah.
And the one guy fell in the wheelbarrow with the cement inside. He was saved, but the other guy was killed accidentally. He was from down east, I forget where.
And so does that mean...
So there's tragedy, you know?
Yes.
It's a place of beauty, but there's also tragedy.
I don't know that churches actually have hauntings, but are they... Is there a mystery behind?
You know, when you talk about places,
you
know, you were talking about Le Géant Beaupré and his story.
Yeah.
Well, the cathedral has a story too, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, most of it is a majestic story.
Yeah.
But there are some stories that are associated with tragedy.
Yeah, always.
This is a bench that comes out of the beautiful little chapel at the convent.
Right.
Which is now used as a library, but it's solid oak.
And we see these often in churches in Montreal where I've performed.
Yeah,
this is very typical.
So Gravelbourg also had its monastery with the Precious Blood Sisters.
Yes,
and this was a gift of a house from one of the Gravel brothers to the sisters of the Precious Blood, so that they could get their monastery started.
And does that house still stand?
That house no longer stands. There's a separate building that's no longer run by the sisters, but there's a Chinese couple that just bought it and they're restoring it.
So, Louis, tell me again, you're the president of...
La Société Historique de la Saskatchewan.
How many members are in that association?
Oh, I've never counted the members, but there's probably 150, 200.
Wow. It's fantastic that
there's museums that belong to that.
Huge.
Yeah. And they do some pretty cutting edge work, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're always trying to find a different way to present history. And
so
they also work with genealogy. And like they've followed through on books that families, like some of the people that really contributed to the Francophone presence.
Have you written any books?
No, I haven't.
You should.
No.
You're a key player in keeping the heritage of this province alive.
Yeah, well, maybe someday I'll write a book. I just haven't thought about that. Too busy doing things.
Right. How many years have you been here at the museum?
15 years.
Yeah.
Just off and on, like, even
you probably won't stop. I don't think you could.
No, I won't stop.
No, I don't think you could separate yourself from
No,
here.
and I'm involved in so many other things.
Yeah.
Like, I work on rail retention right now.
Oh, right.
And I not only work in the history end of it, I work in the actual projects too.
Nobody's approached you to be mayor of Gravelbourg?
Oh, I was on council for 15 years.
Were you?
I don't need any more of that.
Right. This is a true
That's
labor.
not where it's at.
This is a labor of love for you, I can tell.
Louis continued to show me around the museum, and I especially loved the memorabilia dating back to the 1940s and 50s. The old crank turntables with a Sinatra 78 record provided a great musical backdrop to my visit. From here, Louis and I made a mad dash down the main street to the Gaiety Theater, which is the setting for my next podcast. You'll be hearing more from Louis at the theater. Thanks for listening. The SaskScapes podcast is created by Kevin Power as part of the Culture Days Animateur program, operated by Sask Culture. Funding to the cultural sector is provided through the Saskatchewan Lotteries Trust Fund for Sports, Culture, and Recreation. If you want to hear more of these podcasts, or to see the great work being done by other Sask Culture animateurs, please visit www.iheartculture.ca. Special thanks to Paved Arts in Saskatoon for their technical support. Music for SaskScapes is provided by Saskatchewan-born singer-songwriter Jeffrey Straker. There is no end to the stories to be told. So, until next time,